and welcome to the Wellness with Juanita podcast. I'm your host, Juanita Nagai, an American living in Japan for 20 years. I've gone through some massive life changes and crises in my 20 years here. At its bleakest, I felt very isolated, alone, and helpless in the face of what was happening. I relied on alcohol and cigarettes to get through it the best I knew how, which worked until it didn't, and everything fell apart. I made it through with a little help from my friends, a fledgling mindfulness practice, and learning how to become my own strongest ally. I quit drinking and smoking, worked my way through my grief, found ways to forgive, created new connections, and started a regular exercise, meditation, and self-care routine. I've also become a national board certified health and wellness coach along the way, and developed a desire and passion to help others on their own personal journeys. This podcast is all about change, growth, healing yourself, learning how to get back up after life kicks you down, and exploring mindfulness and self-compassion as incredible tools available to each and every one of us to do just that. Hello, and welcome to the Wellness with Juanita podcast. I'm your host, Juanita Nagai, and today I am joined by a very lovely guest. DeDe Spicher is a health and wellness coach working at the intersection of bariatric health, embodiment, and emotional resilience. She helps others untangle their wellness journeys from shame and shoulds and instead build relationships with their bodies rooted in mindfulness, compassion, and self-trust. DeDe's personal journey through bariatric surgery sparked a deeper process of transformation, one that began with food and fitness, but soon led her into the emotional, spiritual, and even financial layers of self-worth. Her approach weaves mindfulness and nervous system support into all aspects of holistic wellness, helping others build lives they truly relish. I'm delighted to have you join me today, DeDe. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you so much. I am really, really happy to be here. I really have been looking forward to this.
Yes, and for the benefit of my listeners, DeDe and I first met each other as study buddies when we were preparing for the National Board Health and Wellness Coaches Certification, massive 4.5-hour test. We became online friends from that experience.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm truly curious about your personal journey and your transformation. What was that journey getting through and now in this other amazing space on the other side of the tunnel of bariatric surgery and everything? Could you share a little bit about what your journey has been like?
Absolutely. I love to share what my journey has been. It's such an interesting community, and probably, one of the first things I should clarify is what is bariatric surgery? What is the bariatric? What is that word? And it's really kind of the clinical name of weight loss surgery. And there's a lot of different forms of surgery, but it's not liposuction. It's not plastic surgery. It's one of the forms where they surgically go in, and in my case, they removed about, I think it's like 3/4 of my stomach, actually more than that. Wow. So there's several different forms or different variations of the surgery, but in some way, they reduce the volume of the stomach. And so that is weight loss surgery. And, I never really considered that to be a real thing. I had heard people had the surgery, and then mostly that was followed up with, and then they regained it all back. The first surgeries that were done were pretty extensive, where they actually remove part of the intestine. And so there's actually, like I say, different levels of it. But one of the very common practices was what's called a lap band, where they just go in and they put a band. And that has not proven to be for most people, a very successful, long-term, sustainable approach. So there were a lot of people that had regained their weight and then had to have it removed. But in my case, I came along well after that, and I have worked in the healthcare system in the US for most of my career. I know how to research. I know how to do my homework and find what kind of outcome I'm looking for, what kind of surgery is going to be best for me, and find a good physician that I can partner with in that, in that goal. But really, that was just the beginning. I found somebody who had had the surgery, and it came just at a very synchronous time for me when I was really in a pretty dark place. My health was really bad. I was at my heaviest weight. And I heard this woman talking about what a great experience she'd had. And so I just started to follow up, and I just took the next step, and I just took the next step after that. Each step thinking, okay, this isn't going to work out. Somehow I'm not going to qualify. Somehow it won't be an option for me. It turned out to be an option for me. I liken it to a bug on a windshield. There are lots of things going on, and there's lots of bugs on the windshield, but that one was just the biggest bug that I needed to, and that is my relationship with my body, my health. All of that was the biggest bug that I just couldn't see anything else going on. And so when I had surgery, they do surgery on, my stomach, but they definitely didn't do any surgery on my brain. And that's where the emotional eating is living. And that's where it really then is highlighted after surgery, where surgery takes away all of the coping mechanisms, right? And so I did not have a mindfulness practice at that time. I didn't have other tools available. They don't really do a lot to prepare. And I'm not sure that it's possible to prepare before surgery, other than to let you know you're going to need some support. So frankly, it was, like I say, a process of making peace with my body and regaining my health, which is a really big undertaking. It's not just eating less. It's now that I'm only able to eat a small amount, I really need to make sure that what I do consume has a lot of nutrition, and a lot of the snacking kinds of things would just normally fill me up, that I really need to focus in on what is going to be healthiest for my body. So working through all of those emotions around changing my behaviors, changing my, like I say, my coping mechanisms, changing my diet. And that includes, what I eat at our family gatherings and what I choose to and choose not to eat or drink or whatever. So it really touches on a lot of aspects of my lifestyle. And I recreated my whole lifestyle. And once that was sort of dealt with, then I see the next bug on the windshield, right? And then it's like, okay, so now I really have to address more emotions that keep coming up. And how am I going to do that? And then it's just layers of the onion, right? So I figure out one layer, and then there's another opportunity in front of me. And really each one of those leads me deeper into myself and my relationship with me, not just my body, not just my emotions, but all of it. So it's really about staying in the truth of me. Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's beautiful. And there's so much I could dig in, like so much wonderful, juicy stuff there. So the last thing that you said, talking about this kind of idea of the layers, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like the first biggest outermost layer, that biggest bug on the windshield that was
Yeah.
blocking your vision, right, for everything
Yes.
else, was the weight loss, was the presenting problem, right? This is where I'm
Yeah.
stuck. This is what I need to work with first.
Yeah.
And then as you go in, it's almost like I think of two different metaphors, right? There's the peeling away the layers of the onion, which is great because it kind of brings you closer and closer to your inner core. I've also played around with this image of the spiral, right? So there's
Yes.
still like that inner core, and it's giving us, though, the momentum and the upward motion that we are growing, we are evolving, even if we're kind of circling around the same issues a lot of the time.
Yes.
But in both metaphors, it is kind of like we have to start where we are. I mean, there's a reason that's kind of my tagline. We got to start with
Yeah.
what's really weighing on our heart and soul and body. But from there, man, whole worlds can open up.
For sure. And each little trip around in the spiral, each layer, it gives me anyway the confidence that I can face the next. I've done
Mm.
hard things, right? I can
Mm-hmm.
do hard things,
Mm-hmm.
including looking at and sitting in the discomfort, sitting in the not knowing, sitting in just the sadness of what is, and letting that move through, recognizing that emotions and where we are in life is so temporary. Everything is so
Yeah.
temporary.
Mm-hmm.
But to really, I'm at a place now where I just look forward to the next thing because it gives me such inspiration to be in it, knowing that I will move through it. It's not going
Mm-hmm.
to feel very good all the time, but I will move through it and I will be stronger on the other side and ready to then face the next challenge, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is part of the beautiful benefit of beginning that journey of starting to peel back the onion or starting the trip around the spirals, is that once you do start taking the steps and once you do start putting in the work, you realize that you are able to get through even the really painful, hard and difficult things, which I think is what kind of stops a lot of us, because who wants to go through pain and suffering and the hard stuff? That sucks, right? So we
Yeah.
immediately want to resist that and push back. I think that if we are lucky enough at a certain point in our life, we do come up against that big bug, and either we let it kind of consume us and take over our lives, and either the
Yeah.
struggle to resist it or the struggle to figure out how to somehow plod through life with it still kind of holding us back,
Yes.
or find the beginning of our path through. And that's another juicy bit I wanted to kind of think about. For you, it was your weight and your relationship with your body. That was your starting point. For
Hmm.
me, it was drinking and smoking. And as you were talking, I was reflecting how, for me, that was my starting point. I needed to find the ways to stop doing those destructive, harmful behaviors. But once
Yeah.
they were gone, it was like, okay, so now how do I deal?
Now
Like, those
what?
were my coping
Yes.
mechanisms. What do I do? And so again, it's a process. We can't do it all at once. And I feel like I am definitely on whatever trip around the spiral, or going deeper and deeper into my own self, and that emotional exploration and kind of process of healing and discovering. But I would never have been able to do that if I was still trying to just cope with life by just numbing out and just drinking and not really taking
Yeah.
care of myself. So I do feel I can think of examples with clients that I've worked with and with other friends. We get to a point where we're pushed up against the wall and we realize I cannot go on like this anymore. And that is the beginning of, yes, we can get healthier and all of these things in a physical way. That's a lot of times the kind of entry point. But it really is opening up the door into a holistic transformation, which is why the work that we do is so fun and exciting and interesting, right? Like,
For
and I'm
sure.
so passionate about it because it's just like, man, you literally can change your entire world.
It always fascinates me how and why we let it get so bad in the first place before we surrender and say, okay, I can't do this, at least by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
I
just got
need another
goosebumps.
perspective. Yes, we do. I do. We wait until, or we let the decisions be made for us, or we live in fear of doing something different and disappointing, or whatever the reason is, until some circumstance in life, even if it's just our own willingness to stay in that place, we're finally at that point where enough is enough. And then that's when the magic can begin, right? The
Yeah.
surrender. It's like, I can't do it. Okay, now what?
Right. And I personally think that, why do we let it get so bad? What is that about? Because I think everyone who has gone through some kind of process does think that. Why did I do that to myself? Or, like in
Yeah,
hindsight, it's so obvious, right? But I think that's part of what it means to be human. Again, I truly
absolutely.
think that if we are lucky enough to realize, no, this is part of it, to get shoved up against the wall or shoved face down in the mud or whatever of life, and then
Yeah,
just to be like, okay, yeah, I give up. I can't do this way anymore.
right.
And if we don't do that, again, I'm just really thinking of my personal story and my experience. If my mom hadn't died all of a sudden out of the blue, if I hadn't suffered this series of losses and tragedy after tragedy at that period of my life, I could very well have just continued on, same old, because that's what I
Hmm.
did for years and years and years, right? It really took
Yeah,
something that was, the universe is like, I have been giving you signs and signals for years. And you're obviously
yes,
not picking up the breadcrumbs. So just bam, now you have to
yeah,
deal with this. You
yeah,
deserve more than this. And
yeah.
I do think that that's what it means to be human. I just read something yesterday about how the first half of our lives are lived figuring out our coping mechanisms, figuring out what we need to do to survive, to feel safe, to feel loved, whatever that is. And
Hmm.
again, a lot of that comes back to childhood stuff. That's the first
Oh,
half
for
of our
sure.
life, all of these
Absolutely. Yeah.
patterns and behaviors that we learn as very young. And then the second half of our life is discovering what no longer serves us, what we
Mm.
can let go of and change, and realize that as adults, we do have other ways of doing all of those things, of making ourselves feel safe and loved and supported and secure. And I think it was a meme or something that was like, that's not a midlife crisis, that's a transformation. And I'm here for it. Absolutely.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. And I also have recently decided that all of those challenges that we face and however we deal with them, however it is, that is our story, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's incredible. Every single person has an incredible story of what they have faced, dealt with, didn't deal with, dealt with in a good way, regret how they did deal with, whatever the thing is, we all have a story to share and to help other people who might be going through the same thing, who are looking for inspiration. I think that all of us living through our individual challenges in whatever way we do is fodder for the collective. I think that it is important for everyone. That's why I have a podcast. That's why you have a podcast. We are sharing these conversations and these thoughts because they are important for the collective to have available. Whatever is going to spark the, hey, this might be addressing me. I might be ready to say this is enough for me right now. Or at least to not have shame about how we did do a thing or didn't do a thing, whatever that is. I just think that our stories and our choices are sacred and powerful and worthy of gratitude, no matter what they are. I feel like we have an opportunity to honor our own story.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I completely agree. I think that it's also showing others what's possible. I mean, even if it's not necessarily possible for them specifically in the exact same way, just the fact that you don't have to stay miserable. You don't have to stay the same way that you've always been. There's life and inertia, and especially how fast-paced and distracted and everything life is now. We kind of lose sight of the fact that we really truly can reinvent ourselves at any moment we choose to.
Absolutely. It's happening all the time.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other important thing, though, to share with the collective and to share with others is that it doesn't happen overnight and that it truly is this process. I think that especially with social media these days, it's really easy for people to just look at others and say, oh, well, they can do it, but not me. Or they have their shit together, but why do I feel like I'm not doing enough? And you know, we start to compare ourselves, and instead of the comparison, by sharing our stories, like you said, if we are really honest and we're not hiding behind the shame, or we're not, you know, trying to gloss over all of the face down in the mud moments, but to really truly say, this is my experience and this is what it was like, that is what can be so inspiring and so uniting, because we're being honest with our humanity, what it really, really took. And that's just something that I wanted to kind of highlight, because when I share my story as well, it's kind of like I was here and now I'm here, and I never shy away. I'm still definitely a work in progress, but that it's been years, right, since I kind of had my face down in the mud lowest moment. That's probably 8 years ago now or something. It's not an Instagram overnight, like before and after picture.
Exactly.
And I do think that there is a moment where you kind of just decide that you are ready to love yourself, to do better by yourself, even if that's not what you call it in the beginning, but just that I can't live like this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And that is the beginning. And it really might be the smallest, tiniest baby steps to get to the other side, but it will be fabulous and amazing and so, so worth it once you get there. But so I wonder if you would be willing to share in your weight loss journey. How long, is that the right question? Is that what I want to ask? I mean, like, what, you know, was that process of going from, I can't live like this anymore, I mean, and then doing bariatric surgery. I know there's a lot of prep that goes into that, and coming out the other side and finding ways to cope and to not go back
Yeah.
to the eating
Yeah.
habits that kind of got you there in the
Absolutely.
first place? I mean,
Yeah.
what was the timeline there like, I guess?
Yeah. So for me, it was a little bit longer than some because it wasn't a smooth road. So I heard that it was a possibility. I found I had to go, there isn't a bariatric center in my little rural community. So I had to go find
Mm-hmm.
one. So there's one a couple hours away, and they had a free intro session. And so there's these steps you go through for in most programs in the US. And I got all the way through until it got to the point where my insurance didn't cover it. That's it.
Right.
I'm out.
Yeah. In the States, you're out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they would offer a discount for anybody that wanted to pay out of pocket. But I wasn't able to do that. And again, in the US, it's very expensive. But I was pretty determined. I don't usually like to be told no. So I did my research, and that's where it took me a couple of years
Mm-hmm.
to find an option. And I ended up going to Mexico. And I
Okay.
had the best experience. I had such a great experience there. But I knew, again, from working in healthcare, I knew the risks. I knew what I needed to look for in a good surgeon and a good
Mm-hmm.
program and a good
Mm-hmm.
clinic. And I did my homework, and that took me a while. But it also gave me time to prepare and to process and to listen to stories. I found a podcast that was all these stories of people who had been through it and what
Mm-hmm.
they did and what worked. And I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
know who were the people who were successful maintainers? What did they
Yeah.
do? And I
Yeah.
wanted to hear from the people who were brave enough to share their stories of what others might consider not being successful, of regain, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
on a mission right now to normalize this notion
Yeah.
of regaining and then back on track. And that's what the human body does. But it gave me a while to really learn the stories of what was possible and what was the risks. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew what I didn't want to do, and I knew that this was my last ditch effort. And so once I found the surgeon and had the surgery, then it was easy. And I have to say, Juanita, this was a very similar experience to the one that I had preparing to move to Japan. So it
Mm-hmm.
took me 5 years from the time I decided, oh, I have to live there. I can't just go and visit. I need to relocate. That's how I need to
Mm-hmm.
know this culture and these people that
Mm-hmm.
I had been studying. So
Right.
I spent so much time learning the language, getting a private tutor, and becoming immersed in the Japanese community in my local area, and just really wanting to understand. So that's my way of coping, is to get informed. So by the
Mm-hmm.
time I moved to Japan, I had zero adjustment, culture adjustment. I didn't
Wow.
have any.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of the other English teachers that had come
Mm-hmm.
to the school that I was working at, they had terrible, terrible adjustment. And
Mm.
I was ready for it. So that was the easy part. It was actually coming home that was my biggest adjustment. I didn't know that reentry
Yeah.
adjustment was a thing. It's a thing. And
Yeah.
so those pieces that blindside us are the ones. Those are the opportunities you don't see coming, to really
Yeah.
dive into what is going on. And let me tell you, I have used what I learned in my reentry period in so many other aspects of my life. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I learned that yes, people don't know me and they think they do, and they have different expectations, and I've grown, and all of these things that we go through.
Mm-hmm.
And what that has brought me to is they're doing the best that they can. I'm doing the best that I can, and we can still be kind to each other. And nobody's out to get me. I'm not out to get anybody else. And
Right.
that lesson I've reflected on, and it's served me well in other challenges that have come up, right? Where it's like at the end of the day, we're all trying to connect in the only way we know how. And
Yes.
so we do our best and
Mm-hmm.
try to give each other the benefit of the doubt. So that happened after bariatric surgery and recreating my life and
Oh, wow.
saying, no, I'm not going to have grandma's special dessert at our family gathering. And everybody's like,
Right.
oh my gosh, she's not having dessert. And again, grandma wants everybody to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy, and that's how we show it. That's how we use food. That's how I love gathering
Mm-hmm.
around the table. And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, we're all trying to connect in the way that we know how. Grandma does it with
Mm-hmm.
food.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
all of those
Yeah.
kinds of lessons that we can use when we decide to move through those tough times, they will serve us in the end.
Yes, and that's beautiful. I think that your journey and your personality and the way that those have blended together throughout your life, they'll give you the benefit of that perspective, that you
Oh,
can
yeah.
have that silver lining outlook on things and say, yes, this was a struggle or uncomfortable or a challenge, but from that moment of adversity in my life, it actually taught me these wonderful lessons. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's really, really beautiful. I feel like so many of us, especially right now when it feels like the world is
Oh,
a dumpster fire
crazy.
raging
Yes.
uncontrollably
So
in
true.
so many
Yes.
ways, it's
Yeah.
really, really easy to succumb to despair and hopelessness and feeling like you do just want to numb or you do just want to crawl under the covers and hide or whatever. But I feel like right now it's the most important time to hold on to our hope and our joy and our awe and to do this positive work on ourselves for the benefit of all of us, for all of the reasons that you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier, to share our stories, to share our light, and to connect with other people in our shared humanity so that we realize, okay, all is not lost. There's a lot of noise and there is a lot of real harm happening right now, for sure.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
that's all the more reason that we hold
Exactly.
on to hope and we hold on to compassion, and I really believe that has to start here with ourselves, with this one here, before we're able to really be able to do it
Yeah.
outward, right? And
Yeah.
that is something we're definitely not taught. That's something I think that needs to be learned and experienced individually.
Yeah. And when I sit with my clients that are struggling with whatever. And again, a lot of them just because of my own experience and my transformation with bariatric surgery. And it's not as common to not have regained, and I haven't. And so they're like, how do you do? Well, again, we get through that part. That bug on the windshield is done. And then it's like, what's next? And there's always
Yeah.
something next. But the thing that I'm thinking of as you're talking is that this is really about that emotional resiliency. Like every time we are pushed and every time there is a setback or every time there's a challenge in front of us, it calls to us to be bigger, to find it in our hearts, to first love ourselves and then to love our neighbors. And it sounds very
Mm-hmm.
like a 70s hippie, but they might have been onto something. I'm just
That's
saying.
I'm here for it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, but I find that really that is more and more true all the time. And when I have my clients are beautiful, beautiful people creating their own stories as they're going through life and building that emotional resilience along the way so that they, again, are just more prepared when we have a dumpster fire in the world. And all of us are really a lot closer and a lot more connected than we have ever been. And I sort of feel like it's on a bigger scale, it is the macrocosm hitting the wall. This
Yeah.
is where we are as a people in the world. We are at a point where we're like, we don't know if we can do this anymore. We're going to have to do something differently.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
not just
absolutely.
that guy over there. He needs to do something differently. It's us as a people needing to do and be bigger than ourselves. And
Yes.
just
Yes,
sharing our
absolutely.
story does it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
so many ways. I absolutely 100% agree with you. And I believe that the only way we get past this or through this is if we do grow and heal and evolve as a people. Like, this starts with
Yeah.
compassion. This starts with connection. And it's not just connection with ourselves and that kind of self with a capital S, or connection with,
Yes.
those closest to us in our lives and others in bigger and bigger circles, connection with the world and the planet, on all these different layers and levels. I do think
Mm-hmm.
it really comes down to compassion and connection. So how can we do our small part in that way? So like you said, by sharing our stories, for me,
Yeah.
it's by shining my light in whatever small ways that I feel I can. It's like Sharon Salzberg says, to do the good that's in front of you, even if it's a small good,
Yeah.
right? So if we all are doing the small good that's in front of us, like, we don't have to make it hard. It doesn't have to be this monumental mountain Sisyphean feat that we do. And I truly believe that even the work that we do on ourselves, that also totally counts. The more that we
Absolutely.
heal and grow and
Absolutely.
evolve personally, that ripples out into the world in all of these ways. And
Yeah.
so that's why, I mean, I could literally go on and on all day about this and how passionate I am.
I think it is much harder. I don't know if it's impossible, but I do think that it is much easier when you make peace with yourself and you don't have the judgment and the criticism pointed inward. It makes it a lot easier to be compassionate with others when you have true
Yes.
compassion for yourself. When you let go of that shame, you don't have as much of the criticism or the tendency to shame others. It's easier to give them the benefit of the doubt. And
Yeah.
also stand in the truth of just what is. It just is. And love them anyway. One of you're talking about your favorite quotes and your favorite mentors, and there's a pretty long one by Mother Teresa about, do it anyway. People can be rude, people can be mean, they can betray, they can do horrible things, and love them anyway.
Yeah. But as you just pointed out, it's really, really easy not to do that when we are not feeling that love for ourselves inside. When we're judging ourselves, when
Mm-hmm.
we're feeling shame, when we're feeling contempt for ourselves, then it's really easy to do it for others. So it really
Yeah.
is a two-way street. The more that we work on ourselves, the more we're able to hold others in compassion. And to see, I
Absolutely.
think this idea of the common humanity, the shared humanity, really is it. Not only that you can look at other people and give them just so much more grace because you know what it's like to be you, but also that it's not all roses and unicorns and Instagram photos, right? That life is,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right? It's messy and it's
Messy.
painful and it really
Yeah.
hurts. And learning
Yes.
to sit with that, learning to feel
Yeah.
your way through that.
Yeah.
Again, if you are able to do that, and that is a wonderful example for others, it's an indication that, oh wow, she's not perfect and she's still finding her happiness and her joy and trying.
In the name of that transparency, one of the things, in fact, I'm working on a post right now about how in the bariatric world we like to see our before and after pictures, and you like to look at me and all of my 255 pounds on a tiny 5'3" frame, and then my after picture where I'm just great, doing great on the beach in Mexico, everything, life is grand. And the truth is, I'm not either of those. I look at the person, and it's not that I am ashamed of the image of my before picture. I just have so much compassion for her and know she was trying so hard. And then I look at the after and I'm like, and life is not, like you say, roses and unicorns there. So I really want to highlight that I'm not the before, I'm not the after. I am still very much in the messy middle with everybody else.
Yeah.
We all
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And I'm glad about that. We're all trying to figure it all out. So yes, I worked through the body image stuff for then. It still comes up. I worked through emotional stuff. I still have emotions. What do you know? And
right. Surprise,
you know,
surprise.
yeah. And then I think I mentioned, I mean, even my relationship with money, my relationship with my work life, I mean, all of that is just more things to process and see what comes up for me, what shadows are needing some light shown on them, and helps me with each iteration, helps me to be more compassionate to more people around. And
yeah.
truly, when my clients come in and they just have so much shame, and I just want to give them big hugs and say it's not at all necessary, but it's a path that they have to walk, right? And so just holding a loving container for them to
yes,
be all of it, just be all of it right there. It's how we move through.
Yeah, I love that. And I think of it as of holding the space and being the presence that they need to be able to start to uncover. For me, I think of it as, when they start to realize they don't have to believe all of their thoughts. There's lots of
That was
thoughts.
that was so huge. That was
I know, right? It's
transformative
just
for
like,
me.
wait, what? My brain
What?
is not right all of the time. It's not speaking the gospel, and just realizing, wait,
It's not.
yeah. I mean,
It
for
is
me, I
not.
think that's one of the biggest benefits of my mindfulness practice and my meditation practice is seeing or experiencing how crazy and random and insistent and whatever monkey mind all over the place all these different thoughts are and everything. And it's like, oh yeah, lots of those can just be kind of batted away, just let go. They just pop like bubbles.
Yeah.
And if that's true for some of them, maybe that's true for more of them, right?
Yeah.
So it's a
I wrote
beautiful
a
process to see.
I wrote a newsletter article on firing my brain. Like, it has been in
Yeah.
charge and has made some serious errors in judgment. And I am now elevating my heart and my body and my
Mm-hmm.
my internal technology, my internal wisdom.
Yeah.
I'm elevating up to CEO now, and
Yeah.
I'm not firing my brain. I just am needing
Putting
to,
them on sabbatical. Yeah.
yeah, and just, take some cues from my body. And really it's this is my latest and newest adventure, is
Yeah.
really tuning in to how that feels instead of my thoughts. Instead, even when I think I like them, but
Mm-hmm.
how does it feel in
Yeah.
my body to have this perspective, or to know that this is where I have come? What feels right to move forward?
Yeah. That's beautiful.
It's a whole different experience.
Yeah. I have one question that I wanted to make sure to ask you while I had you, as you are very familiar with the weight loss journey to the point of having bariatric surgery and everything. And recently in Japan, we are even able to get prescriptions to the weight loss drugs. So the
Oh,
Ozempic and
yes.
things like that. If you meet certain conditions and
Yeah,
everything, they're prescribing them here
sure.
as well. So I'm curious what your take is on it. Like, what do you think of the fact that now we have the potential to lose massive amounts of weight with a little magic pill? What do you think about all of that?
And it's not always a pill. Mostly it's an injection, but whatever.
Oh, okay.
Tomato,
Thank you for
tomato.
educating me.
Doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, I think that there is a time and a place for everything. It's very rarely black and white. I know that there's a lot of people that are on it, people that have gone through bariatric surgery and started to regain. It really addresses kind of the noise in their mind, the food noise, and gives them an opportunity to think rationally about the choices, and extends that period of time. After bariatric surgery, the weight loss is fast. We lose the most that we're going to lose in the first 18 months in general, depending on how much you have to
Mm-hmm.
lose. So that 18 months to a year window is, I mean, you're dropping so fast. I used to have to go get all new clothes every 2 weeks. And I went to
Oh,
a thrift
wow.
store because I was a completely different size. I was two different sizes. I was basically losing about a
Mm.
size every week. So
Wow.
it's quick. And your mind and your brain does not change that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So really, that option extends the period of time for you to be rational about making choices and creating new habits and creating a new lifestyle. There are some positive things about it. There are also some risks. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it's just really important to be very informed and make an informed decision, not a
Mm-hmm.
social media
Yeah.
pressured
Yeah.
decision. And really, health and wellness can take lots of forms. And that is really one of those that I don't judge either way. If people want to use it, if they don't want to use it, there's choices to be made. We are lucky enough to have the options, and the consequences of long-term obesity are dire. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that the option to not take it, and there's lots of other ways to approach it, just with the particular kinds of foods that we choose to eat, can actually do a lot of the same thing that the
Yeah.
medications do. Food is medicine. And
Mm-hmm.
if we want to eat more foods that amp our GLP-1, which is what those do, that's definitely possible. But it's not
Mm-hmm.
possible if you're already mired in a lifestyle that doesn't support those kinds of decisions. it's not easy to change our lifestyle. It's not easy to just start exercising and I'll tell you, I heard a statistic. I don't know if this is still true, but I heard that the divorce rate for people with bariatric surgery is 50% above even the already 50% divorce rate in the US. So that's a big indicator that relationships often suffer. And
Yeah.
the theory right now, going theory, is that if you have a good relationship, and that's with anybody, friends, spouse, children, whatever, if you have a good relationship before bariatric surgery, you will have a really good relationship following bariatric surgery. But if it is not a strong relationship, that will poke further holes in the structure. So really it's hard to change. And if that tool is one that is used mindfully, if it is used intentionally and not just another crutch, but if you're doing it while making other changes that will last long term, I don't have a problem with it. Again, I can see lots of sides of the coin, and people need to explore it for themselves. And I have had a couple of clients recently that are really struggling with that decision. And so, we work on the whys. What are we really doing here?
Right.
What are the options? And what are the consequences of taking it? What are the consequences of not taking it? And not just consequences of the medication itself, but if you're not going to eat at grandma's birthday, then can you say, I'm not going to eat at grandma's birthday without it? Like all of those cultural motives around food, our lives are complicated. They just are. So teasing all of those components apart, is the where the real work is.
Well, and I really appreciate that answer because it's messy. Everything's shades of gray. It's not like an easy answer like most things, but some of the online groups of women in Japan and different foreigners in Japan that people ask about it. How can you get it with or without insurance, or what are the options and things like that. And my only back of mind as a health and wellness coach thought is just, are you thinking of it as the magic pill? Now I can just take this and it's all going to be great and I'm going to lose the weight. And that's the only thing that I kind of think, well, yeah, are you informed? Are you aware of all of the shades of gray and all of these other not options? Because I think that if people are at the point where they're considering bariatric surgery or taking medication, you've tried everything, right? And so I don't want to judge or negate that experience as well. But I do think that, you gave a really well thought out and nuanced answer.
And people do the same thing with bariatric surgery. It's easier you can go to Mexico, not have to comply with some of the protocol in the US. It is less expensive. They don't have the rigorous standards in every clinic. It's very possible to find to think that there's a magic pill in the surgery itself. And again, time tells all, right? Time will tell. And so a lot of people that I talk with are people that have approached it that way and have now found that it's not sustainable to continue with the lifestyle that they had before, and they have started to regain, or they have regained, and they don't want that. And sometimes regain is not bad. Again, it's just about their relationship with it, their notions around it, their criticisms of themselves around it. So all of that is messy and has to be unpacked.
Yeah. Wonderful. So DeDe, I like to leave my listeners with some kind of small takeaway at the end of each episode. And so today I would love it if you could give us something that my listeners can take with them.
So I was thinking about that, and I wonder if you would mind if I left them with two things.
Oh, that would be wonderful. You get a special bonus today.
So I'd like to leave with a thought exercise in particular, and that is exploring, and maybe somebody might want to use it as like a journal prompt or just a thing to meditate on, however they want to ponder this notion. But it's one that I've been sitting with recently, and that is to own all of my choices, to be radically responsible for all that is in my life and where I have come, good, bad, and different, all of it. And think about how I am choosing this current reality. How am I choosing it over and over and over? And also really notice when there's a discomfort that I come up against, and the invitation to lean into that, to notice it, to feel what that feels like in our body, what thoughts come up around it, and to just hold the space for discomfort. So that's one of the things that I would like to share and leave with. And honestly, any feedback, I don't know if you have comments at the end of yours, but I would love if people would just include any insights that they have, because I'll be watching, I'll be monitoring, because I really enjoy hearing what people's experiences are. But the other thing I'd like to offer, I have a little mini guide that I usually have on my marketplace, my products, that is just a mini guide and a 3-day sort of reset to reconnect with ourselves. And so it's a 3-day challenge, and each day there's kind of a thought to sit with, kind of a grounding thought. And then there is a practice to sit with and feel in our body, whatever that day's focus is. And then again, a journal prompt. So after I have sat, so many things can come up, and only the gems stay with me, right? Everything else just kind of wafts away.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's an insight, and I don't like to lose those. So there's sometimes an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper. So I have a journal prompt at the end of each of those for each day. So I'd just like to offer that little guide to your audience for free. And I'll send you the link for it, and we can just put it below.
Yes, that's perfect. And that's a wonderful segue. I will definitely include the link to that free guide in the show notes.
Great.
And I would also like to give you the opportunity for the shameless plug at the end here. So if my listeners are interested in reaching out to you or finding out more about you, do you have a website, or where can they find you?
Yes, I have all the things. I've got a website, there's a Substack, I have kind of a newsletter there, and I have my podcast that is on YouTube. Again, it's mostly in that bariatric community, but I'll share all of those with you and your audience.
Wonderful. Yes, that's wonderful. I'll put all those links in the show notes.
So
if
much.
you'd like to learn more about DeDe's work or hear more inspiring stories and all varieties of stories, I imagine, on your podcast, that would be wonderful. I really appreciate you coming on my show today and talking with you. I'm sure we could sit here all day long.
I know. I'm sure that we could. I always enjoy talking with you, Juanita.
Yes.
Who knew? It's the best thing I got out of that study. study group, really.
Honestly, such a wonderful relationship and friendship blossomed from that.
Appreciate you.
But to my
Yes.
listeners, I thank you so much for joining us both this episode. And I
Yes.
always love to hear comments, feedback, anything you have to
Yeah.
share in the show notes. You can reach out in my socials as well. But until next time, thank you for listening and take care.
Bye.